Hey kids, Flexing Teacher Weber here. I hope you're having a good day. We have now done all the different kinds of one-step equations we're going to do, and now it's time to review them and have a test on them. So on their own, these equations aren't too challenging, but when you combine them, sometimes kids can make mistakes on what you actually have to do. And you can confuse the different kinds of equations. So let's review one of every kind. So what we have here is the equation negative 16 equals x minus 28. Now what you want to do is find the variable x, and beside that is a negative 28, and you want to isolate this x and turn this negative 28 into 0. This is also minus 28, it's the same thing, right? So to turn negative 28 into 0, you add 28, and you have to do the same thing to both sides of the equal sign, add 28. Now we have to remember our integer rules with adding and subtracting. If the signs are different, you subtract 28 minus 16 is 12. And I have more positives than negatives, so the answer is positive 12. On the other side of the equal sign, equals x, and minus 28, positive 28 turns into 0. So 12 equals x. Now, to check that, we write down the original equation. Negative 16 equals x minus 28. And we substitute in our value for x. So negative 16 equals 12 minus 28. Is that true? Well, 12 positives and 16 negatives subtract, and I get negative 16, negative 16. So the equation checks out. Okay, number 2 is, technically it's a two-step equation, even though I called it a one-step equation. Now the goal is to get the x by itself, and you have a positive 7 beside the variable. So you subtract 7. And do the same thing to this side. Subtract 7. 7 minus 7 disappears, and look what you're left with. You're left with a negative x. You can't just have this negative disappear. Now I think of this negative x as negative 1x. Whenever you have a coefficient, a variable without a number in front of it, the number is 1. And negative 15, negative 7, the signs are the same, so you add them and use the negative sign. Now this is negative 1 multiplied by x. So to turn this into positive 1, I divide this by negative 1 and divide it by negative 1. And I get 1x equals positive 22. Negative divided by negative is positive. Or x equals 22. The check. 7 minus x equals negative 15. X was 22, so 7 minus 22 equals negative 15. And that is true. 7 minus 22 is negative 15, so both sides of the equation check out. Okay, so we've got an equation that we solved by adding, an equation that we solved by subtracting. Next, we have a multiplication equation. This is negative 7 multiplied by some number equals 56. So the opposite of multiply by negative 7 is to divide by negative 7, because when we do that, we're going to show the value of 1x. Negative 7 divided by negative 7 is positive 1x. And do the same thing to the other side, divide by negative 7. 56 divided by 7 is 8, and since the signs are different when we divide, then the answer is negative. A simpler way of saying this is just x equals negative 8. Let's do the check. So for the check, we write the original equation. Negative 7x equals 56. Negative 7 multiplied by x, which in this case is negative 8, equals 56. A negative times a negative is a positive, so both sides of the equation check out. We are good. Okay, so we've done an add equation, subtract, multiply, now a division equation. Negative 11 equals negative x divided by 8. Well, you want to get the x by itself, so you want to make divide by 8, turn into 1. The way you do that is to multiply by 8, and we show that with parentheses. And do this side multiplied by 8. Negative 11 multiplied by 8 is negative 88. Equals 8 on top and 8 on the bottom divide off to 1. So this is like 1x, but there's still that negative sign in front. So it's like negative 1x. So this is like negative 1 multiplied by x. The way to turn that into positive 1x is to divide by negative 1. We're always doing the opposite, right? And do it to both sides. Negative 88 divided by negative 1 is positive 88. And negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1x. Or you can just say 88 equals x. It's the same thing. Then to check it. So we've said our answer is 88. Well, negative 11 equals negative x over 8. Negative 11 equals negative 88 over 8. Negative 11 equals negative 11. Both sides check out. So there's a review of the 4 different equations we've done so far. I'm going to give you a practice assignment today and then a test tomorrow. I hope that helps. That's all for now. Flexing Teacher Weber out.